morning, dear students. Welcome to the another part of the spectroscopy technique. We have read up to the Lambert absorption law, that law which governs the absorption of the light by the molecule. Now we continue from the Beer law in this lecture. In this lecture, the following content should be covered: the Beer law, and the derivation of finally the Lambert-Beer law, the absorption band found in the UV visible spectra, then the instrumentation of the UV visible spectroscopy and the applications of the UV visible spectroscopy. After this lecture, you have the detailed information about the UV visible spectroscopy, including each and every term with the law and the instrumentation to analyze the UV visible spectra with the various applications. So, when the Lambert law was given, the Beer did some modification in it, like when a monochromatic radiation passed through a transparent solution, the rate of the decrease of the intensity is directly proportional to the intensity of the incident radiation as well as the concentration of the solution. So that was the modification but done by the Beer law. So let's see. So the Beer law states that when a monochromatic radiation is passed through a solution, the decrease in the intensity of the radiation with the thickness of the solution is directly proportional to the intensity of the incident light as well as the concentration of the solution. So that the modification come that not only if we say the rate of the decrease of the intensity minus di upon dx, this is the rate of the change of the intensity with the thickness of the absorbing medium, it not only directly proportional to the intensity of the incident radiation that was stated by the Lambert law, but also directly proportional to the concentration of the solution. So this becomes the Beer law. That would be the same here. The I is the intensity of the incident radiation, X will be the thickness, but one thing which come up, that is C, concentration of the solution. So the equation now become this minus di upon dx directly proportional to the IC. So the equation come like this: minus di upon dx is directly proportional to Ci or IC. If we remove the proportionality sign, we have the another constant here, that is K dash. Understood? So the K dash is representing here the proportionality constant. Again we go for integrating the equation between the same limit as we have done in the Lambert's law. I will be taken as the initial I naught and X to be taken as 0 and I to be taken as the final I and X to be taken as a L. So if we again integrate the equation, we get ln, that is log base E I upon I naught is equals to minus K dash CL. So that is after the integration we have this. In the Beer law we get this. So we have the similar equation to be solved. If we change the log base E to log base 10, we have 2.303 multiply log I upon I0 will become I0 upon I, the minus sign will change and that become KCL here. And we have changed the minus sign and here we have put the inverse form, and this log I upon I value is positive and this log I0 upon I is called absorbance. So in the Lambert law we have change after this step, but here only when we have convert into log base e to log base 10 we have multiply with 2.303, and we have this value absorbance value, and we have this k upon 2.303. Again it's the absorption coefficient, it is also called molar extinction coefficient. So he told that E is the molar extinction coefficient, and we have this equation A is equals to ECL, extinction coefficient, concentration of the solution, and L is the path length of the medium. So this how we have this equation, and this completely, if we talk about this equation, we can also say it's a complete Lambert-Beer law, because the absorbance is directly proportional to the concentration and the path length of the medium. So from the equation we can see this transmittance is I upon I naught, or we have the minus log T is equals to log I upon I naught, that is A. From the equation it is seen that the absorbance, which is also called optical density of a solution in a container of the fixed path length, that is the fixed thickness of fixed path length, is directly proportional to the concentration of the solution. So if the path length is fixed, understood, this is fixed, so we have, and this is the coefficient that is also fixed. So absorbance is directly proportional to the concentration of the solution. Understood? So that can be verified in the lab. Now we understand the various types of the absorption band found in UV visible spectra. The one of the band which is highly intense band found in the spectra, that is K band. The K band is originate due to the pi to pi star transition for a compound containing conjugated system. Such type of a bands arise in the compound like dienes, polyenes and enones, and having high intensity. You can see here the example acetophenone, which undergo pi to pi transition, having this lambda max 240 nanometer and having the intensity 13,000. The same here, the 1,3-butadiene, we have this transition pi to pi star, 217 is the lambda max and 21,000 is the intensity. The next is the R band. The R band transition originates due to the N to pi star transition of a single chromophoric group and having at least one lone pair of the electron on the heteroatom. These are less intense, with the maximum intensity you can have below 100. You can see here it is due to the transition N to pi star, means having only one chromophoric group which is responsible for the spectra, and having at least one heteroatom which is having lone pair of the electron. The acetone transition here you can have N to pi star, that is the lambda max 270, and we have the intensity of this lambda max, that is 15, below 100. Acetaldehyde is also here, the intensity is very less, even the lambda max is 293. So these band are called R band, which is less intense than the K band. Then we have the B band, the third type of the bands. Such type of the bands arise due to the pi to pi transition in aromatic and heteroaromatic molecules. Benzene shows the absorption peaks between 230 to 70 nanometer. When a chromospheric group is attached to the benzene ring, the B bands are observed at longer wavelength than the more intense K band. So what's the difference between K and B band? So B band is go for arising due to the pi to pi star transition, and they are observed at longer wavelength and generally form in the aromatic or the heteroaromatic compound. Like here you can see the example benzene, which is having the 255 nanometer and the intensity is 215. It is less intense than the K band, but the longer wavelength it is possesses. Like phenol is having 270 nanometer, but it is less dense than the K band. So the difference between the K and the B band is likewise B band observed at longer wavelength, but the K band at the lesser wavelength as well as K band are more intense than the B band. The fourth one is E band. E band originated due to the electronic transition in the benzenoid system of the three ethylenic bonds which are close to the cyclic conjugation. So these are specifically found in the benzenoid systems or in the closed cyclic conjugation. These are further characterized into E1 and E2 bands also. E1 band, which appear at shorter wavelength, is usually more intense than E2 for the same compound which appears at the longer wavelength. In the same compound we can differentiate between two type of the band, that is E1 and E2 band. Here you can have in the benzene we have 184 E1 band which is having the intensity 50,000, okay, and E2 band is of 204 which is having intensity 79,000. Understood? So E1 band is having shorter wavelength as compared to E2. Understood? And E1 is more intense than E2. So that's the difference here. Naphthalene also you can see the E1 and E2 has the wavelength difference. E1 is lesser wavelength and E2 is the higher wavelength. And with the intensity also, intensity of E1 is higher than the E2. So in the cyclic conjugated system, this E band is found. After understanding the various absorption band due to the allowed transitions, now we come to the instrumentation part of the UV visible spectroscopy. As we have seen general feature of the spectrophotometer previously, we have the features like source, that is the light source, which is main here. If we are taking UV visible light source, the source should be specific. Monochromator, again an important feature which converts all the polychromatic radiation into a monochromatic radiation. Then the sample compartment or the sample cell in which we put our sample, that material, that holder, or we can also say to its cuvette. That various detector are used in the instrument to detect out and convert the radiation energy into the signal. And finally the recorder in which all the signals are recorded. So these are the general features in we have talked about. We have single beam and double beam spectrophotometer. Now we have to specify for UV visible spectrophotometer here. So all these components we have to specify for UV visible spectrophotometer. So all these components are connected to one another. Here is the block diagram of the instrumentation of the UV visible spectrophotometer. Here is the source, radiant source is there. Then here is the monochromator, wavelength selector, and we have a sample where we always have the sample which we take in a transparent solution form. Understood. And here is the photo detector which detect the signals, and finally it comes in the recorder which we get the output, the readout or the output which is used for the analysis. So this how all the features are connected to one another in a UV visible spectrophotometer. So this is the again the block diagrammatic representation of the UV spectrophotometer, and you can able to see all the parts connected to one another more in a detailed form. Here is the source coming, and through the entrance slit here it is passing the radiation, and here is the dispersion device in the monochromator. Monochromator consists of the three parts. The one is entrance slit, we have dispersion device which convert the polychromatic radiation into the single monochromatic radiation here, and the exit slit to pass the monochromatic radiation, and we have the sample here, and it is easily detected by the detector which converts it into the signal, and we have the amplifier to amplify the signals, and finally recorded in the recording unit. So here you can easily have the role of the monochromator which you can have with the entrance slit, dispersion device, and the exit slit here. So the one of the important feature of the spectrophotometer is the source, and here we have the UV visible spectrophotometer. So the source of the UV radiation, as the hydrogen discharge lamp is very much used in the UV radiation, and for the visible we use tungsten filament, and here you can able to see the hydrogen discharge lamp. The pair of the electrodes is enclosed in a glass tube which is provided by the silica or the quartz window for the UV radiation to pass through, filled with the hydrogen gas. It is stable in nature, and it gives the radiation of the UV 120 to 350 nanometer. So it's a stable source, the hydrogen discharge lamp, for the UV radiation. So that's why it is specific for the instrument. So the next feature come up the monochromator. Different monochromator used in the UV visible spectrophotometer. The one of the monochromator here, the grating, diffraction grating. It is more refined dispersion of the light is obtained by means of the diffraction grating, and these consist of the large number of the parallel lines, grooves, about 15,000 to 30,000 inch, is ruled on highly polished surface of the glass, quartz, or the alkyl halides. So the diffraction grating as well as the prism is also used in UV visible spectrophotometer, and prism also diffract the light, and we have the monochromatic radiation to pass through the sample. So the sample holder is the third feature in UV visible spectroscopy. Always the cell or the cuvette are used for handling the liquid samples, and for the UV visible spectroscopy the transparent solution should be there, as you have seen the absorption law. So if your sample is solid, it should be dissolved in the solvent, and that is taken as a reference. The cell may either be rectangular or cylindrical in nature. For study out the UV region, the cells are prepared from the quartz or the fused silica, whereas the color corrected fused glass is also used for the visible region. So specifically we can go for the material that is made up of quartz or the silica, fused silica, for the UV spectroscopy. The surfaces of the absorption cells must be kept scrupulously clean. It is very much important where we have to put our sample, that is the material to be made. It should be cleaned. No fingerprints or blotches should be present on the cells. So every time when we are taking the sample, we should clean it with the proper solvent so that no fingerprints or any type of the scratch or the blotch available on the cells. Cleaning is carried out washing with the distilled water or the dilute alcohol or the acetone. So the cleaning of the cuvette, the cleaning of the sample holder, it should be very important part when we are putting our sample for the UV visible spect to get. This is the cuvette of the UV visible spectra, which is made up of quartz or the fused silica. So this should be cleaned with a proper solvent, and in this only the transparent solution is taken for the analysis. So the next come is the detector in UV visible spectroscopy, the device which convert the light energy into the electrical signals that are displayed on the readout devices. The transmitted radiation falls on the detector, which determine the intensity of the radiation absorbed by the sample. The following types of the detectors are used in the instrumentation, specifically in UV visible spectrophotometer, is the photovoltaic cell, or it is also called barrier layer cell, the photo tubes or the photo emissive tube or photo multiplier tube. So these are the detectors which are used in the instrument UV visible spectrophotometer. So on the basis of the transmitted radiation, when it falls to the detector, it goes in the determination of the intensity of the radiation absorbed by the sample. So what are the requirements of an ideal detector? It should give the quantitative response. It should have high sensitivity and low noise level. It should have the short response time. It should provide the signal or response, the quantitative to wide spectrum of the radiation received. So these are the important points to be select an ideal detector for each one type of the spectroscopy. So it should be highly sensitive. It should have the short response time. It should provide the signal to response the quantitative to the wide spectrum of the radiation which we receive out, and the quantitative response for the analysis. So it's a UV visible single beam spectrometer you are observing in the image. In this, what's the difference is there with a double beam instrument? As at a particular time you can analyze either your sample or the reference. Reference is always the solvent you have taken to make your sample to be soluble in it. So the best solvent which is used in UV visible spectroscopy, that is ethanol. Ethanol is the best solvent to be used in the instrument UV visible spectroscopy and analyzing. We can use the other solvents also, like the N-hexane, which cannot absorb at this UV visible range of the radiation. So we have to select at a particular solvent which do not absorb the UV visible range of the radiation. That solvent is the best solvent for the spectroscopy. The next is the double beam UV visible spectrophotometer. The double beam instrument is the one in which two beams are formed in the space by a U-shaped mirror called beam splitter or beam chopper. So when the light monochromatic radiation is coming from the monochromator, that beam is divided into two equal half, and that is done by the beam splitter or the beam chopper. The chopper is a device consisting of a circular disc. 1/3 of the disc is opaque and the 1/3 is transparent. Remaining 1/3 is mirror. It splits the monochromatic beam of the light into two beams of the equal intensity which is passed through the sample. So this is the diagram of the double beam UV visible spectrophotometer. So here is the light source. You are able to see here very clearly the light source of UV and the visible, which is going through the mirror, and we have the slit which is passing through there, and here the diffraction grating is there, which is plays the role of monochromator, and here the slit 2 which is coming to pass through this, and here is the beam chopper which converting into the two equal halves. The beam is coming here. The one is going to the reference cuvette, and the another one is here. It goes in the sample beam, and we have the sample cuvette here. And with this, the detectors are also here. The detector 1, which is observing your this sample beam, and the detector 2, which is taking your the reference. So simultaneously, when the two beams split it up, the one is passed through the sample and the another one is passed through the reference, and that is recorded in the recording unit. So this how the all the instrument which is there, the parts are attached in the UV visible spectroscopy, and we have the analysis of the compound. The reference cuvette and sample cuvette is made up of same material as it's the quartz and the fused silica. So this is the double beam instrument in the lab, where we have seen the diagram how it works. The double beam spectrophotometer is very useful as compared to the single beam, as simultaneously with a less period of time the analysis can be done. So there are the various advantages of the single and double beam spectrophotometer. Single beam is the simple in construction, easy to use and economical. The double beam facilitates the rapid scanning over the wide wavelength region. Fluctuation due to the radiation source can be minimized in this. It doesn't require the adjustment of the transmittance at 0% and the 100% at each wavelength. It gives the ratio of the intensity of the sample and the reference beam simultaneously. There are various disadvantages also. In a single beam, any fluctuation in the intensity of the radiation affect the absorbance, and the continuous spectrum is not obtained in a single beam. While in double beam, the construction is very complicated, as you have seen in the diagram, and the instrument is expensive. So these are the limitations we can say and the disadvantages of the both type of the spectrophotometer. So the double beam spectrophotometer, the continuous spectra we can get and high resolution we get in the double beam spectrophotometer. Now we come to the application. So the instrumentation, we have read how the UV visible spectrophotometer works. In the next lecture, we continue with the applications and the Woodward-Fizzer rule of the UV visible spectroscopy. Till then, thank you and take care.